So in this video, we're going to be taking a quick look at the Scrub Daddy Dish Daddy. And this is the Scrub Daddy sort of cleaning wand or cleaning brush, whatever you want to call it. And I've been using this product for some time now. I got a new one for the review. Take a quick look at sort of the features, and then we'll see it in action and then finish up the review. Here's the packaging. It's pretty simple. You have a soap dispensing wand with a stand. It has that soft and firm. Basically, if you use hot water, it's soft. If you use cold water, it's firm. And here are the basic operations, how you unscrew it, how you fill it. We'll get into that later. Here is the wand itself. It's maybe 15, 16 inches long. Here's that base. It does stand up on its own, which is quite nice. It's good for drying, and if you don't have a ton of counter space, it works out. It's hard plastic, so you could see it's clear, and you can see how much soap is in there. There's the soap dispensing button here. This is that scraper in case there's anything that's stuck on there. It's a harder plastic than the rest, sort of hard like this, whereas this gray stuff is rubberized. You can open up the base. This is how you fill it. It has a O-ring to seal it, so no leaking of soap, even though it is upright. Again, this is all hard plastic. Screws shut, and it has a stop here, so it's always nicely aligned. Very clever. Dish Daddy, some logos on there. Here's the cleaning head. They call it a Scrub Daddy, and it is a Scrub Daddy, even though it does have the sponge like the Scrub Mommy. But this sponge part is not usable. Basically, you have this, which is a lot thinner than normal, but it is that same Scrub Daddy material. On the back, you have what looks to be a sponge, but that's just some padding here to give it thickness and to retain some moisture as you clean. Basically, you have this here, and this is not for cleaning. This is just for the Velcro to hold it in place. This will also allow the soap to go through, and it'll get absorbed into this sponge section, whereas if the soap was going through here and going into a Scrub Daddy material, it would just sort of leak out. It doesn't retain soap as well as a sponge that has a more, like a tighter structure. So the soap, this will hold the soap, and it'll get down into the scrubbing area as you push it, apply pressure, and more water hits this thing. You could buy different heads for this, which we'll get into in different reviews. You could also replace this head, and you could buy a few of them at a time. It's not that big. It doesn't last that long because the scrub part is pretty thin, and it's just not going to last as long as a Scrub Daddy or a full-size Scrub Mommy or any of those products you're used to. The Velcro here, it's a little bit on the weak side. That's something you want to keep in mind. It's not terrible. It's not a disaster, but it's not that strong, and sometimes this thing will come off. Okay, so we're testing out that Scrub Daddy with some dirty stuff just as a quick demo. Let's give it a shot. Prime it. A lot of soap and a lot of suds. That structure is able to really foam up your soap or lather it up quite nicely. It does use a bit more soap than I would expect, but that has to do with how hard you're pushing the button. The good news is it maintains that lather in the sponge for a good amount of time. It's not getting cut up when you are cleaning a knife, which is important. Some of the more sensitive sponges will get chopped up. The Scrub Daddy seems fine. Obviously, you don't want to do it on the blade, but when you're cleaning the side of a knife, it's quite annoying when your sponge gets cut up. That's not really a problem here. And again, I hadn't pushed that button again. It's maintaining a lot of soap, and it's getting a good clean for multiple items. So here's a cutting board. Now that it's been dried, you can see all the oil stains are gone. It's nice and clean throughout, and the abrasiveness of the Scrub Daddy does really well on cutting boards and other flat surfaces like that. And the handle gives you a little bit of extra leverage as you're pushing down without putting a lot of pressure on your hands. So the Scrub Daddy absorbs a lot of water, but one of the nice things about it is that that sponge piece extends out past the foot. So when it does drip, it's dripping down into this collector piece, or it's going past that straight into the sink. So you can put it at the end and it'll drip right down to the sink. Or if it's going down the plastic piece, it'll hit this little incline and then go straight down. So I've been using the Dishwand for a few months now, and I just want to do a quick update about it. You can see it's definitely seeing some wear and tear on the scrubber itself, or the sponge itself, whatever you want to call it. Getting a little dirty. This rougher piece is getting a little bit worn out. It's held up pretty well, but it's definitely starting to lose some of its material and lose some of its shape. It's not quite as rough as it was, but it still works. The wand itself is holding up well. It stayed pretty clean, no mold buildup. You know, there's some soap buildup and things like that, but it's, you know, it could be cleaned at this point. It's not gross in any way. I've refilled the soap a few times. That seems to work. Soap seems to get some water in it. You can see how liquidy that is. I don't think that's that much of a problem. Maybe this valve here isn't perfect. It doesn't seem to have any problem with lathering, but something to keep in mind. This looks pretty full, but it's actually not as soapy as it was. So the soap is just less concentrated. This scraper here is a little bit undersized. Sometimes you need to scrape off material, like on a cast iron pot maybe, and or cast iron pan. It works, but it's small and it's kind of hidden behind this, so it's a little bit tough to get at. We haven't really gotten into the accessories here, but I did end up picking a few of them up. And what you can do, for instance, is now as this thing gets older, it's not ready yet, but theoretically, once this is ready to go, you can pull this piece off, throw this out, replace it with a new one. And that one I might put like, just kind of stick on here, and there you go. Might move that one down a little bit more just to get a little access to this scraper. You want the soap to be able to go through these holes to some extent, so you have to be a little bit careful there, but there you go. And these things, they stick better over time. And then there are some other accessories that we'll cover in another video. There's this right here. This is the scrub brush, and then there's the Dishwand adapter. That's so you could use the full-size Scrub Daddy with your Dishwand. And then there is this right here. This is just the rougher texture. This one is called the scouring pad refill head as opposed to the Dishwand refill. Anyway, that is just a quick look at the Scrub Daddy Dishwand. I like this thing, and it's doing exactly what it said it's gonna do. It's holding up well. I think I got my, you know, the bang for the buck, the 10, 11 bucks, whatever it costs. I don't really love using a Dishwand. This has not converted me, but that's more about my own personal preference. I'd rather just clean it with a sponge or whatever. But if you do like the Dishwand, you want to keep your hand out of the water and remain, you know, keep some remove from what's being cleaned, this is a pretty nice option, and there's a nice accessory set, and it's held up well. So no complaints from me. Thanks for watching.